Okay, so today we are going to make a little bit of brown butter. Brown butter is just an amazing way to kick up flavors of things like mashed potatoes, chocolate chip cookies. I'm using this week for a sauce for some steelhead salmon. We're going to do a little brown butter sauce and then a little hazelnut gremolata. So we'll show you that another day. But for today, we're just going to go through the process of browning the butter. So I have my pot here. I want a light colored pot so I can see the bottom. I've got half a pound of butter here, and I have just cut that up into small pieces because I want it to melt evenly. Then I'm going to use my heat-proof spatula, and I'm just going to keep stirring this. I want it to kind of melt at an even rate so we don't get some things starting to brown while other parts haven't melted yet. So I'm just going to let this melt down, and then we'll come back and we'll show you the second step, which is the boiling of the butter. Okay, so we're back. You can see our butter's melted. It's come up to a boil now. So I'll point out, when I started melting this, I was at about a medium-high heat. I'm just going to turn it down to about a medium at this point. And then I'm just going to make sure I keep stirring it around like so with my heat-proof spatula. You can use a wooden spoon, a whisk, whatever makes you happy. What I'm trying to do right now is we're going to get some of the moisture is going to come out of the butter. We're bringing up the temperature so that the milk solids in the bottom actually start to brown, and that's what gives it that nice nutty flavor. I am using unsalted butter. That's kind of my rule of thumb. If you use salted butter for this, you'll just find the bubbles get a little bit bigger, the foam a little bit more, which makes it harder to see the bottom as the browning happens. So at this point, you can see we got this little white foam on the top. We have large bubbles coming here. It gets fairly loud as the water comes out of the butter. It'll start to kind of pop a little bit. And we'll keep cooking this. We'll keep stirring this. And then what is going to happen next is the butter gets hotter. Just as it starts to brown, it'll go very quiet. The bubbles will get smaller, and then we'll start getting the milk solids caramelizing on the bottom of the pot. So I'm just going to keep this going for a few minutes, stirring it, and then we'll come back when it's almost ready to brown. Okay, so you can see now we don't have as much of that white foam on the top. The bubbles are starting to get a little bit smaller. And then I'm also noticing a little bit quieter now on the bubbles, on the cracking and the popping. So again, we're going to keep stirring around like so. You just want to keep an eye on the bottom because that's where the milk solids are going to start to brown, and that is what's going to give this the flavor. If you go too far with it, you're going to get a bitterness to it. You're going to ruin it. So you want to keep a very close eye on this. Keep stirring. And I want you to keep in mind that when we're looking for a nice nutty brown, you'll be able to smell the nice nuttiness. You want to turn the heat off, a little bit before kind of the optimum color, because there's still going to be a lot of residual heat in the pan that's going to keep the cooking process going. So, it's one of these things, you might screw it up a few times. You might want to make it a few days ahead of time. It stores really well in the fridge, so you're not trying to do it the same day you want to use it. So if you do make a mistake, you can correct it. But once you kind of get a feel for this, you can see the bubbles getting smaller now. Once you get a feel for this, it's just going to elevate so many of your recipes when you use this in there. So I'm starting to see a little bit of sticking on the bottom of the pan here. So what I'm going to do now is we'll come back in about a minute, and it should be starting to brown then. Okay, so you can see we have just really tiny bubbles now. And I can actually feel on the bottom of the pan the milk solids that are starting to brown. And what you can kind of do is you can just see the little brown bits in there now. It has a really beautiful nutty aroma. So now I'm just going to turn the heat off here. Now, if you want to make this a little bit easier on yourself too, you can use a wider pot, and then there's a little bit less of the foam to see through. You'll be able to see the bottom a little bit better. I'm going to pour this into a bowl now. Put this bowl down here. Just want to cool it down and see right in here. That's what we're looking for on the bottom of the pan. Those beautiful brown nutty bits. Just like so. We'll make sure we take our spatula, get them all out of there. Now you can use this as is now, or you can put it in the fridge, cool it down, put it in the fridge. When you go to use it, you just want to take it out, make sure you mix it up, get all the brown bits in there. If I'm using this for something like a sauce, like we're going to do later this week with the salmon, I'll strain out the brown bits just because it looks a little bit more pleasing on the plate. If I'm putting it in mashed potatoes or I'm using this, in a cookie dough or something, I will leave those little bits in. But that's a nice, beautiful brown butter. Try it at home. Hit me up on Facebook page. Let me know how it's turned out for you.